In the last 2 or 3 days, I've been reading this book by Paul Hoffman. This book is about countering the corrupt. And it says here, the what, who, where, why, how to counter corruption. This one. So as I've been reading it, I've noticed some things that I should have noticed but I've not noticed. The major problem in Kenya is not lack of employment, it is corruption. It's not bad healthcare, it's corruption. It is corruption that causes bad healthcare. It is corruption that causes lack of employment because it takes away opportunities meant for the unemployed. So all these problems, including, farmers not being able to get their dues or farming not being able to be profitable, it all stems from corruption. If we solve one problem called corruption, we'll fix the problem in Kenya. So now, let's go to class. So we have a problem. I'll ask my cameraman to come closer. This problem is called corruption. Sindio? Aya. Corruption is equals William Ruto. Now, I'm not saying William Ruto is the only corrupt leader in Kenya. Virtually most of our presidents have been corrupt. Ministers in government, PSs, governors, MPs, MCAs. But the father currently of corruption, the papa le président de la OFSAD, is this guy. This guy called William Ruto. He's the father of corruption currently. Now, if this guy stops being corrupt, Kenya can be fixed. Or if this guy gets out of power, by whatever means, the corruption in Kenya will reduce. There's only one problem about removing this guy. So, now we are talking about removing the problem. The problem is William Ruto. There's only one problem about removing this guy. Removing this guy is dealing with the symptoms of a disease without dealing with the root cause. Ni kama kukunywa painkiller. Because before you remove William Ruto, you have to ask yourself, who put him there? The person who put him there is someone called a voter. Now, if you remove William Ruto without fixing this guy called the voter, you will bring another Ruto called William Ruto. If you remove William Ruto without fixing this guy called the voter, you bring another guy called William Ruto Pro Max. Ukitoa William Ruto bila kufixi shida, you'll have a William Ruto Pro Max. Because we are a democracy, and a democracy is organized according to democratic election. That means a president is elected by the voters. If the president is corrupt, it's because the voters wanted it that way. In fact, the 7 million voters cannot say that what I ordered versus what I received. What they ordered is exactly what they received. So then we've known that the problem is the voter. This voter has many problems. This voter, some of them voted because of tribalism. So there are Kalenjins who voted because Ruto is a Kalenjin. There are Kikuyus who voted because Ruto had a running mate who is a Kikuyu, who is Gachagua. So tribalism is a big problem here. All right? Number 2, about this voter, is the problem of bribery. Kuhongwa. And here we are talking about lessors, We are talking about wheelbarrows. We are talking about cash and other gifts. All right? Now, these are the majority of the voters. Now, William Ruto did not start being corrupt when he won the presidential election. He was corrupt from the beginning. People knew he is corrupt. They knew his role at the ICC, but they still voted for him. So what is wrong with these people who still voted for this guy, expecting the best out of the worst? It means to fix Kenya's problem, we must fix the Kenyans. To fix Kenya's problem, we must fix the Kenyans. Why do I say so? You see, in every corruption scandal, there is a lawyer, there's an accountant, there's a bank teller. All these people know what's going on, but they don't mind because it's benefiting them. Meaning those complaining about corruption are those who have not benefited from it or who are not benefiting from it. Now, these people are the few. The majority are the poor. When you steal 10 billion meant for medical equipment for various hospitals across the country, the people are going to suffer is not William Ruto. It's not his friends. It's not his business partners. It is the poor people kwa ground. Ndo wataumia. So how do you fix this voter? You fix this voter through civic education. The only way to fix this voter is to educate them, to open their eyes. And sometimes some of the things you're telling them are obvious. They are things that they already know, but you just need to tell them again. That is why I'm always focused on civic education more than protests. Umeanza kunielewa sasa? Jo wengine wenu hamunielewangi. Mnashindonga ni nini mbaya na mimi. Sasa today I want to explain to you my thinking. The reason I'm usually focused on civic education more than protest, street protest, is because civic education will fix the problem. Protest may not fix the problem because you might remove this problem and replace with William Ruto Pro Max, a bigger problem. Why? Because you've not fixed the voter. All right? Even if a military general takes over through a coup or anything, they can be William Ruto Pro Max. All right? So now, this civic education, how do we do it? One way is the Vampire Diaries. What the Vampire Diaries does is it shows Kenyans how corruption affects them. Simple. Ule Mkenya wa kawaida inamuonyesha vile ufisadi inamuaffect. How else can we do this civic education? Word of mouth. If you talk to people in your family, in your place of work, watu wawili tu, watatu, wenye mnafanya nao job mko nao familia moja, if you talk to them, by just word of mouth, business partners, customers, you can fix this problem. You can talk to them, you can give them civic education. The other way is through media. This media has a problem. You might realize that lately, I don't go to TV so much. That is because there is a problem here. Media is business. And most of the mainstream media, they have a relationship with this guy. In what sense? The government that this guy leads usually advertises through the media. And the money they pay for advertising is hundreds of millions, if not billions. So if they hit too much on this guy, he will deny them the money for advertising. The other thing is, this mainstream media is regulated by the Communication Authority of Kenya. This Communication Authority of Kenya is controlled by this guy because he's the head of government. All right? Now, this mainstream media, that's why you see them twisting stories. For example, let me give you a very good example. The governor of Narok hired criminals to come and beat us up. These criminals were not the people of Narok and they were not Maasais. And we made it very clear. We just said these are criminals who were hired. The people of Narok had no problem. But when the thing went to media twisted it. Media says a group of angry youth attack. They were not even youth. What was the media trying to do? To show that the youth were disunited. Why? Because the youth have attacked their fellow youth. Therefore, youth are not united. That's mainstream media. All right? That is why we have other media. Right? So let me wrap here now. So I think hii simeshapata hii sasa inaweza futa. All right, class. So we are moving nicely. So we've already identified the problem of mainstream media. So now tunataka tuongelee other media that we can use. One such media is social media. Now, the government doesn't have control of social media because it's millions of people tweeting, Facebooking, Instagramming, and TikToking at the same time. They're not able to control it unless they shut it down. So what do? Now, kwa social media, they've not been able to control Facebook so much, or Instagram, or TikTok. But they've been able to control one. It's called X. Now, what happens in X is that there's a team of about 20 youth. Sometimes they are at Mudavadi Center, sometimes they are at KICC. All these 20 youth, each of them has about 30 X accounts. So in total, these 20 people have 600 X accounts. Now, these people, they use these 600 accounts to spread propaganda and spin the narrative in the favor of what they want. One way they can do it is to discredit people who say the truth. For example, if I say the truth about a particular thing, they mark me. Then they look for something very frivolous or some propaganda. Then they use their 600 accounts to make it trend so that a Kenyan like you will not believe what I'm telling you because they are taking away my credibility so that you don't trust me next time I tell you something. But the other media, they have not been able to control it. So this is social media. Also, we can just call it digital media. Now, there's a lot we can do here because they've only managed to control X, and that's not entirely. It's up to around, they've controlled X up to around 60%. They've been able to deal with it up to 60%. There's so much social media left. There's TikTok, there's FB, there's IG, and there's YouTube, and Snapchat, and many others. How can you use this to cause change in your family or in your community? You can record a video, you can write something about change, you can post a picture about change. If you're a graphic designer, you can design something and post it on media. It will go viral. That's another way you can do civic education. Another way you can do civic education is organized campaign. Now, organized campaign is where a group of pastors come together and decide to go to Kirinyaga for a campaign to talk about bad governance. They might use a public address system or just meet and greet, just meeting people and talking to them. The way Jehovah's Witness wanafanyanga. A group of doctors can come together and form a group and go to Kitale to do civic education to the people of Kitale about healthcare or about anything else. A group of lawyers, a group of farmers, a group of university campus students, just a group of people, like-minded people. Doesn't have to be many. Mnaweza kuwa watano, 10, ma roommate, ma beshte, ma workmate. You go and do organized campaign for civic education. And it doesn't have to be through Morara or through an NGO or through the government. You can do this on your own. You don't need anybody else. All right? So organize campaign. And many other ways of doing civic education. I can't talk about all of them in one video. Why is civic education important more than the protest? So now, ile swali mmekuwa mkijiuliza ni kwa nini tusiingie street saa hii? Mbona tufanye civic education kwanza ndio tusiingie streets? Let me tell you this. We have two options. One, to wait for 2027 and vote William Ruto out. This thing is very uncertain because Ruto can control IEBC by putting his people there. He can rig the ballot or he can kill opponents. He can do one of these three things and he will remain in power. This includes ile bill ya Cherargei ameleta to extend term. The other thing he can do is he can provoke the Kenyan public to do an uprising. So he can provoke Kenyans to do an uprising so that he declares a state of emergency. Hizi ni zile vitu anaweza fanya, all to remain in power. And he is very capable. He has the money and he has the power. And he has parliament and judiciary and many other institutions. So he is able to do it. So this 2027 is not a sure bet. We are not even sure whether that election is there because we are dealing with William Ruto. The second option we have is the streets. Now, if we go to the streets, we need to be not less than 1 million people. We need to be more than 1 million people in the streets. And we are not going home until William Ruto leaves. For us to achieve this more than 1 million people, that is where civic education comes in. 80% of Kenyans, they know something is wrong with Kenya. But when they see the young people going to the street to demonstrate against the government, they are like, ai, mnatu inconvenience. Mimi sasa mumeblock barabara, ningekuwa nimeenda job. Mumeblock barabara, ningekuwa nimeenda kwa biashara yangu. Hivyo leo sitauza. They don't know that if this government continues this way, they will not have a job and they will not have a business. So we need to do civic education to them so that we achieve these numbers. Now, without 1 million people plus, kuendelea, 2 million, 3 million, without 1 million people and above in the streets, we should not go to the streets. Why? Death without gain. Let me write here. Death without gain. Now, wengi wenu umeniambia, Morara, tuite tu maandamano. Tuko ready kuenda. We tuambie tu siku. Sisi tutatokezea. I know mnataka kutokezea. But nikipima hesabu zangu, nyinyi wenye mtatokezea, hamko wengi sana. Hamjafika ile namba inahitajika. Ndio maana sijawaita. Mko willing, lakini hamtoshi. Can you now take that energy yenye mko nayo ya kukuja kwa street, muende mchukue wenzenu? That's why I went to Narok. I went to look for new ambassadors wenye wanaweza to join when we call for this. So death without gain namaanisha watu watakufa na tutalose. Watu watauawa because Ruto will use lethal force. Tapiga risasi, wataabduct, tutafanya vitu mingi. And I don't want to die without gain. Sitaki kufa kama sija achieve chenye nataka kufanya. That's why I don't want to die for free. I want to die for something. That's why I don't want to go to the streets without the numbers. The numbers to achieve whatever has taken us to the streets. All right. Now, To achieve these streets, we've agreed we need civic education. Now, the question I have to you, my fellow Kenyan, today is this. You have complained about the state of healthcare. I have heard you. You have complained about bad governance. You have complained about agriculture. You have complained about all these things. My question is this. Are you willing to do something for change? Or do you just want to be a keyboard warrior, always complaining on social media and in small gatherings? Are you ready to do the little? As a government official, are you willing to help? By even just leaking some documents so that Kenyans can know how their money is getting lost. If you're willing to do something small towards this change, then I'm together with you. If you're not willing to do anything towards this, then I'm not with you. Thank you. See you in the next lesson.
Welcome back to this channel. So Morara Kebaso has just exposed one of the most trending things in the country at the moment. When you look at this issue very critically, you'll notice that Kenyans will deeply rooted in a certain culture which we believe in politicians, or we believe that politicians can be our game changers, but in the reality we only look for opportunities where it's two opportunities for almost 5,000 people, roughly 10 opportunities for 5,000 people. And that's the question, that maybe somebody comes and promises you that whenever I'm going to come in, I will give you this for that, or I'll give you slots in my cabinet, I will give you slots in my government, I will give you slots in my constituency, or etc. But when this time comes, you find that it's still the rat race, or it's still a race which is way big against something small, and they wonder, like, is this culture or this form of leadership ever going to change in the country? Because it has been there for the years. It has been there. We have grown up with it, and it's deeply rooted in our culture. For instance, look at things like the sharing of the bursaries. You know, some people want to be given priority because they feel that they voted for this person because it will be their number one, or it will give them the first opportunity in terms of these bursaries. So, and it exposes the big question: what governance now are we in? What are we fighting for? What are we looking for? And that's a very critical thing at the moment in the country of Kenya. So what will we do, or what will we do to change this narrative? Or how is these things going to change? Some people, when they vote a governor, or someone a governor wins, some people feel like they are more entitled to the resources than people from other parts because they are the ones who voted. The other day we saw the saga of impeachment of the Deputy President of Kenya, that is Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. One of the grounds for impeachment was the issue of revenue sharing and our people struck a certain region, and while many were arguing that he is now the Deputy President, and being the Deputy President, then it means that he's supposed to be there for all, not a certain region. So politics needs to change, and corruption needs to stop from us, we the people in the ground. We are the game changers in this game. We are the one who are supposed to look further and enhance things the way they are supposed to be happening in the coming days. So that's it for today. Make sure you keep it Morara TV.